Hello, hello. Welcome to another Sports View presented by Women Love Sports Too, because they really, really do. I'm your host, Trusku, today. And look, I'm locked and loaded. And it sounds good to say that all over again. Every 2 weeks, you see us, and I have the lovely ladies here. Tell me a little bit about yourself. We got some guests in the room today. It's a little strange.
It's a mystery. So I'm Sonny the Sports Style up here in Connecticut in Yukon territory. Woo woo! Not an alumnus, but you can't help but catch the fever.
And I'm Talisha. I'm down here in Atlanta, but I'm a Laker fan. So, hey.
Perfect. Well, I think we got some special guests in the room. Producer A and producer B. It's a special guest. Would you like to present yourself?
Yes. Can you see me?
Not yet.
Oh, that must be intentional.
You're the unknown producer.
Uh,
Hello.
well, producer A and B. We having some issues with, but I look, their parents may be too scary. I'm not for sure, but
We on the winning team.
Is it the Wizard of Oz? What do we got going on here?
I like that. It's the winning team.
Well,
Carry
look,
on. Carry on.
we'll let them lay. This mystery will stay mystery, and you just hold on one moment as we get the mystery unsolved. But look, ladies, let's jump right into it. March Madness. Boy, oh boy, well, it's April now, and the madness is gone. But in the month of March, we had over 68 teams on the women's side trying to get a chance to hoist that trophy. 68. Imagine that. And nail it down to one winner. That I couldn't even think about it. Like, imagine what's going through your brain as college students. Some your last ride, and you're like, I got one opportunity, or you got many, depending on you go or bust. But we get down to it where we see a host of teams, and I'll start with the Final Four. Let's say that, and then after that, we'll go into the championship game, and I'll allow you guys to open up on whatever team you want to open up against. But the Final Four games was North Carolina State and South Carolina, the Battle of the Carolina. I mean, that rivalry game within itself is amazing. That game finished out 78-59, which we all know South Carolina moved forward in that game. And, well, we'll talk about what happened after that. But UConn and Iowa sat at the helm on the other side of the field, 71-69. Wow. And we know who moved forward in that game. Iowa, would you guys like to share anything from the Final Four that you guys saw that was very impressive between the two games before we get into the championship?
Well, I don't know about impressive, but the women's UConn Huskies, they're a great dynasty team. I know a lot of people were talking about some kind of illegal screen that in the final seconds that they don't think they should have called because it was the final seconds. And I looked at it was a screen, illegal screen, but that one play is not why they lost. They lost because they were missing shots. They weren't rebounding like Iowa. I mean, they're a fantastic team, but that's kind of what I saw as the difference between Iowa and UConn.
That's what I was going to bring up. The game wasn't. I don't think the game was lost in the final seconds either. It's a whole game, so you got to take the whole totality of the game. And if they didn't call it, then they would have said, "Oh, well, see, they didn't even call that the last screen. They were cheating." So it's either if you do or if you don't. They're so yeah.
I think I go with you guys on that. It's like we see these controversial moments in games where it's a screen or the shot clock hits and it violates the shot clock or whatever, a charge happens and it doesn't get called. But then you kind of get deemed, like you said, the good guy that, oh, well, you led that, you didn't get the charge, cool. Or like you said, the screen. Or second, why did the ref not call it? or whatever it may be, and that determine the game. But we all know that that's the case. It's just not one play determines a game. If you would have played a couple harder in the first or played defense in the first half, you might not have been in the situation that you would. You should have blown them out. I'm just saying. Look, those games, like you said, it may not have been impressive. I mean, they went through what they went through, but I was like, well, next game, championship. But speaking of which, the NCAA Women's Basketball Championship, the national title here, Iowa and South Carolina game.
Oh my God. What a game.
Wow. Now, look, take me through that moment. Now, look, before we go through this, we'll walk through this game here. South Carolina Gamecocks is now our champion, unfortunately. And not only that, we see the coach of Carolina, the Gamecocks, Miss Dawn. Man, look at her pedigree. Look at her leadership. Look at what she's done.
Mm-hmm.
In a room of only 5 head coaches to do so, but the first Black coach to win 3 or more titles.
Mm-hmm.
Can you guys walk me through that game? I mean, I watched it. It was exciting, but I mean, hey, when you got a dog like her, 109-3 record in her career, man, you can just sit down and say, "I'm done there." You don't need to go anymore.
Well, first of all, let me say my husband and I watched more basketball than we've ever watched during the tournament. For me, it's probably been since the 80s because I kind of loosely follow basketball, but this was just so exciting. That game was so exciting. It was a lot of offense, a lot of defense. Just seeing Caitlin Clark hit those threes was just, every time she hit one, I was like, dang, it's be like on the other side of the court, and watching Camila Cardozo just blocking the crap out of everything and rebound. Oh my God, it was so exciting. It was really exciting hearing not only talk about the sports the sports commentators in between, how excited they were after the game, hearing some of the guys that are commentators, how excited they were. It was just great. It was great.
Oh yes, for sure.
Well, this is producer 1 or producer A or producer whatever. I thought it was some of the best basketball, regardless of gender. And you just don't see that. And my hat goes off, and I know we're going to talk about it, or you guys are going to talk about it, but I just needed to make a quick comment about Dawn Staley and her leadership. And it bothered me that they kept comparing her to a player in the marketing of the game. And that should never happen.
I didn't know they were doing that.
Well, when you saw the visuals on television, it would show Caitlin as a player and then Dawn Staley as a coach.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And you just did not see the South Carolina players, or for that matter, the Iowa coach. Either coach to coach or player to player. But you can't jump back and forth, and that bothers me. It did bother me.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, like you said, Dawn, her pedigree, being a sport and being not only being in the sport and play, but be a coach and move forward and have that Hall of Fame look and actually be a person of color or African American. It's outstanding. And then, like you said, producer A, they just put you in the category as a player, like they want to compare you. But would you do that?
She's a freaking WNBA All-Star champion and a coach. There's just no comparison.
Yep, exactly. Now, look, I know the winning squad is what we want to talk about, but like we heard others talk with Caitlin Clark, she was shattering threes all across the court. I mean, the first score, she just like, hold on, we don't need that 3-point line. Bring me to the half court. And it was doing it all night long.
Nothing but net. Wow. It was so impressive. Now I was like, now I know what everybody's talking about, watching her during the tournament. I just been reading articles. When I saw her in action, I was like, dang, she's good.
Something about her and that team. And I mean, looking at them walk off the court, I mean, as anything else, you were kind of a little, you're upset you lost, but I mean, after you do all that hard work, she hugged it out at the end, and she finally did her last and complete tag out, as I call it, her sub, and she's probably, well, obviously she'll be in the WNBA, and we know what she's other achievements she has. Not only that, I want to bag up a little bit, and because this person was hot topic in the college basketball era. It was Angel Reese in LSU, and how she was all ring me, and then you didn't even pop up in the final. Well, you popped up in the final fourth year, but then you didn't even get seen in the championship because you didn't even win. And then you're up there in your feelings because you got busted.
Yeah. LSU plays with a lot of passion, a lot of bodaciousness. They're really great players too. I mean, again, that game could have gone either way. I think, in fact, last year they beat Iowa in the finals? Who did they beat in the finals last year? Was it Iowa or South Carolina? One of those. But they're a great
South
team.
Carolina.
South Carolina, because you can't take anything away from them, Angel Reese and a lot of those players on that team. And however they play with passion or whatever, I think they're fantastic. I think they're going to be great in the WNBA.
Oh yeah.
I think another thing with Angel Reese, because she doesn't have the so-called all-American look of a Caitlin Clark, that her braggadociousness was taken a different way. I'll put it that way.
Caitlin Clark talks trash. They even said it, she talks some trash. But yeah. Mm-hmm. They all talk trash. At that level, everybody talks trash. You can't play
you
that game.
You gotta believe you're the best.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Producer number 2, I agree. I think Angel, when she speaks, it comes across like she's upset, she's angry and fired up, whereas the other one is supposed to be meek and humble, and it's perceived that way. But Caitlin, even though she doesn't speak, her motion, her hand motion, her facial expression, and getting the crowd reared up, she's doing the same thing. But Angel gets the negative press and Caitlin doesn't. And I like them both. So it's really sad how the media portrays both of them differently.
Now, do you think that has to go with it being a color scheme? Do you think it's the media making an angry black woman versus nice and she doesn't talk trash, but she secretly do little white girl? Like they do that so often.
I think it was
what it is. The main reason, as you all know, I have never come on our show ever in four years. And the main reason that it was important to myself and to producer 2B is that we needed to talk about that subject. It's the most, one of those silent subjects that we all know is there. It's blaring you in the face. But and I'm just going to use this as an example. If Dawn Staley was not as classy as she is, if she had, done what another female coach did, who will be left unnamed for the moment, it would have been all over the news. Yes, she's cocky and she's this, she's the female Bobby Knight kind of figure. But I know we're going to talk about coaches, black coaches in NC2A. But if you think about it, I don't care if you look back at, and all of a sudden his name is going to leave me, from the Coach Temple back in the 80s. Most of the black coaches, male or female, when they are in the NC2A, they're held to a different standard. And I would use this as a great example of that standard. Now, I'm not comparing player to coach, but I am saying that in the race category, we all know what would have happened had Dawn Staley not been as classy as she is.
Perfect. Look. While we're there, I wouldn't even want to turn it from that conversation because I like to have that conversation while we're in the moment. But as we know across the leagues, as we all watch, I don't care if it's NFL, collegiate, WNBA, we see a lack of diversity, and not just diversity in the players, but we're talking about the coaching staff, and not only the assistant coaches or the trainers or you name it, but we talk about the head coaching role. And as that role, I don't know if you consider it a Rooney Rule, but across everywhere, you see that it's like I described to a friend before I came on air. It's like going into Walmart and looking for an employee. You can't find any. You can't. It's just when you need them, they're not there. I mean, it's not that the black coaches are not there. It's just you can't find them. And you go, wait, where is this at? Where is this? And then finally you meet somebody along the way. But it's just like they have some type of, I don't know. You guys probably can go more into detail on it. And I'll share my opinion in a few, but I just feel like with the success of like the Don Staley's, you see the success of like in other sports like a Mike Tomlin. You see in other sports you got Doc Rivers. You got coaches like that all across, man or women. But it's just don't see them being represented. How do you guys feel about that topic?
Absolutely. I agree. And it makes it difficult for you to sit and watch the game in its entirety and appreciate all the nuances that are going on at that moment because your mind slips away to where is the representation? Why are they not doing the same thing on an equal level? Player, just do others. And when you go back historically and see those players that have made basketball, male and female, a great sport, and now they are not doing anything in the sport. So what happened? If you're such a great player and you understand the game, why are you not in management?
Exactly. I heard a story. Yeah, I've been watching because of video clips about Dawn Staley, and she was telling a story how the women, there were all the commentators during the game in between, on the breaks and halftime. One of them was Carolyn Peck. And Carolyn Peck, because we were looking up people as we went along, she was the first Black female coach to win an NCAA championship tournament in basketball. And so she said that when Dawn, I guess before Dawn won her first one, Dawn said that Carolyn sent her a piece of the net from the hoop and wanted to give it to her to show her that it's possible that for a Black female coach to win these championships, to kind of motivate her. And when she finally hits that, she hopes that she'll pay it forward. And she actually keeps it like in a little plastic box. She showed her little plastic box. It's really cute. So, she's won 3 now. And so Dawn said, I don't know if it was after the first one or this one, but she said when she cut down the net, she cut off a lot of pieces of it and sent it out to 20 or 30 Black female coaches to let them know this is possible, stay motivated and keep pushing.
It was actually 70 coaches that she sent to all division, no matter what level, Division 1, 2, 3, and she sent them to Black female basketball coaches because she wanted them to be lifted and say, all of you are capable of this. And I thought that was, again, so classy and brilliant. And it just speaks of volumes into who she is, but also gives you a little eyeball into what's going on and not going on.
Yeah. Dawn Staley's like all class. That's great.
And that's the thing you want. Like, I mean, it's generational, not just talent on the court, but then like those younger ladies, as they progress or transition in their role with sports, take that jump. And as you see Dawn do that, so it's possible. We all know we've sat in different neighborhoods. We've grown up in different areas where we just knew if somebody else had done it before us, that we could say it's possible. I don't care if you knew the person, if it's a guy or a lady you looked up to, but if you saw that, and many young ladies across the U.S. or the world saw this moment, and a lot of young ladies of color, or however you want to call it, they looked at that moment that I can do it. And that's one thing I value as a guy. Like a lot of guys are like, oh man, this man, that man. Forget all that. And if it's a guy watching, forget all that. Like take off your high horse, take your hat, sit down for a little bit, and let a woman run the world, or let them do what they would like to do. And that's what I saw in her. I saw the tears, and it weren't tears of, oh, I'm emotional. It was tears that I won, and that some other young lady can sit there and say that I can do it. And I really liked and appreciated that in her career. Now, this is the thing now. What's next? Does she continue with this, or does she get that nice contract from another school and they say, come on over? Or do the
How
WNBA
about
say, come on?
how about NBA? That's where I'm
Yes,
going.
exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So I need to touch on one other little thing that's kind of controversial, maybe not controversial, but just an observation. So there are 12 players on each team. South Carolina had one Caucasian female, one Brazilian female. I believe one may have been Hispanic, possibly. But for the most part, the team was majority Black females. And then I looked at the profile of Iowa, which was the reverse. And I had to ask myself, when WNBA started, I know many of you may be too young to even know this, but when the WNBA started, the league was just like that. And now it isn't. The league is shifting, and more European players, more Caucasian females, which is fine. They're talented, they're good, they
Very
deserve
talented.
the opportunity.
Mhm.
But you just don't. I mean, I could shoot off at least 10 WNBA players without even blinking an eye back when the sport started, from Lisa Leslie to Tina Thompson and on and on and on.
Diane
You know,
Taurasi, yeah.
exactly, Teaspoon, and so many great players, and yet you don't see that now. You just don't. So I was very, almost kind of in a baffled state of when the game was over, and I have sisters, and we were all texting, and my sisters are saying, "Hey, who are these players? Who are these girls that won? Who's the tall girl?" And yes, I'm gonna make you laugh with the red hair and the eyelashes, which I know we're gonna talk about shortly. But I said, they're asking, who are they? You didn't have that years ago. And so I would hate to see that South Carolina team go unnoticed, above and beyond the coach.
You talk about when they go into the WNBA or just in general?
If they're still playing. Right now, everybody knows about Caitlin Clark. Everybody. Her three-pointers, and that she's coming out. Are there other college players, Black females perhaps, that are also coming out? Do we know? Is Angel coming out? That kind of thing.
She said she was, yeah.
Yeah.
She said she was. No picking on Caitlin Clark. She didn't ask for all this attention. Somebody fueled that flame, and the media ran with it. It didn't just happen by magic. Somebody was full flame. But you're right. I mean, South Carolina is undefeated, and how long have they been undefeated? 2 years, 1 year?
2 years.
2 years. During the regular season, this year, everything. And that should have gotten the equal amount of attention. I don't know if they just took it for granted. I'm not sure what, but it should have gotten the same amount of attention. It's no fault of Caitlin or any of those people. It's the media. It's what the media does.
Speaking of the media, real quick, I saw a story where CNN originally had a picture of Iowa's team with Caitlin Clark as the caption for South Carolina winning.
Okay.
And then they got complaints, and then they had to switch it to putting South Carolina there as the winners.
Somebody screwed that up, or did it on purpose. One or the other.
No, I think they screwed it up.
Yeah. Somebody's brackets were busted, and so they're like, "I'm just gonna put Iowa up there anyway." I'm gonna put Iowa up.
Now, actually, do you think that the Caitlin Clark situation got, I would guess, explosion because Ice Cube's big deal with the millions of dollars wrapped around it? Did that play a role? Not for the culture, because obviously it's not the culture, but did that have an impact on making the spotlight on her?
I think the spotlight was already on her, which is why he made the offer. He was trying to leverage her her visibility. No, it was already on her. As you know, that was just a distraction as far as I was concerned. But the WNBA got a problem now because these people are coming out with all the visibility, all the money that ESPN made off of these things. I mean, they put some money into it, and I mean the viewership was crazy. Those women are going to be expected to be paid some money, not so $175,000. They don't want to hear that crap. They got NIL deals where they're making all this money. So WNBA got an issue. On the other hand, if they're smart, they'll hire whoever fueled the fame around Caitlin Clark and the women's basketball, hire them for the WNBA and ride this wave to have the same amount of attention because their games are good too. But, they got to ride the wave. If they screw this up, that's messed up.
Yeah, they better catch it while it's hot. That's what I always say. Like, you got to catch the train while it's going, because once it leaves the track, it's gone. And I mean, like right now, you wrap everybody around it. You bring the athletes that you need to bring, the rappers, the whatever, the artists, whatever. I don't care if you got national anthems and you got, I don't know, Coco Jones out there singing every night. I don't care. You break it out, the hot things. While it's hot, get it. It's almost like Krispy Kreme. When the light's on, go get your donut. If it's not, see you tomorrow. But anyways, talking about what's hot, looking at beauty and basketball. I mean, guys, we can just go out there, deodorant, slick some water on, and we're going to go out and play basketball. But the ladies, the eyelashes, the extensions, the hair, the perfume, I don't know. I mean, you name it. They go out there, but how do you guys do it? It's magic to me. Like I said, deodorant, go play. I mean, it's like
Oh no, I was wondering. They do the same thing with track and field too, and it's usually us, going for it. I don't know. I guess that's important to them. To maybe I don't know. I'm curious myself. I would think all that hair would be hot, be hot hair. I would think the makeup would just be running down your face. So some kind of special basketball makeup. Maybe there's basketball makeup. I don't know.
maybe
I'm not sure. I would think the lashes would just, kind of your view when you're trying to shoot a ball. So, I don't know.
They probably just used to that in regular life, being that made up. So just used to not being able to, I don't know, their peripheral vision kind of messed up with them lashes.
I keep telling, this is producer 1A or whatever my name is today. All I kept thinking as I'm watching those games, somebody's going to get elbowed, an eyelash is going to go in their eye or some of that glue, and they're going to get an infection, and then suddenly they're going to go, no more lashes.
Wow.
No more lashes. That was just too much. And yes, okay, but at least in track, you're running,
You're not
kind
trying
of
to
a solo
you're not
thing.
knocking people
Nobody's-
over and pushing them out
Exactly.
the way. And,
Nobody's trying to throw a ball in your face and make a basket. But as one of my sisters said, if they took off all those weaves, they probably run, and lashes, they probably run a few seconds faster. I said, that is so true. Because we all know those weaves weigh at least 10 pounds.
That's funny. That's funny. Oh my. Well, in other news, you do have two more topics to close the night. We got men's basketball that went through Final Four. Purdue defeated North Carolina State 63-50. UConn knocked out Alabama 86-72. And then, as you know, UConn handled business against Purdue 75-60. I mean, that was another highlight game of the week or weekend, going through their Final Four, and then cashing out their championship too. I mean, if you guys would like to share anything about that, we can leave it as it stands. But I know
They weren't on national TV. You had to go find them on TNT or ESPN 10 or
ESPN.
something.
you're right.
Yeah, but it was like way deep.
That's kind
It
of
was.
funny.
Yes. And look, that was funny. I was like, "Where's the game at?" Then I'm like, "I'll go watch like Shark Tank or something." And then I'm like, "Oh, yeah." My buddy texted me. I'm like, "Oh, it's over there." I'm not even turning it.
Yeah. I can't tell you how many people, like on social media and in my house, were saying, I'm not really pressed to watch the men's game. The women's game was so good. It was like anticlimactic almost. Plus, I just think because UConn's been dominating so much, whereas with the with Iowa and South Carolina, it was more like like a battle, But the part that I watched probably half of it, and just watching the two big guys go at it. That was pretty impressive. The two 7-footers, 7'4" and 7'6". That's what I'll call them. I'm bad with names. The 7'4" and 7'6". The two of them, the two of them, they were taking it to everybody, and that part was pretty exciting.
And a subject to close the night out, a little bit more touchier, but the NAIA, which is the National Association of Intercollegiate Athletics, banned transgender athletes from competing in women's sports. Now, these are for the smaller schools, but I totally get what they're doing. It sounds crazy coming from me, so I'll let everybody else share their opinion. But it's one of those things that, I mean, it's touchy. It's touchy.
It's very touching, very touchy, and I think it's going to be either a school by school or a state by state situation. I really believe that's what it's going to come down to, and that's unfortunate. It's personal. If you have a child and your child is binary or unsure and they need to go to the restroom and they don't feel right about doing that or going to the one that they are assigned to, that's a problem too. I don't want to close out, and I know I'm jumping over, but I have to because I know we're at our time. The HBCU All-Star Game, which, by the way, was on the same time as the women's championship.
Yes, I didn't know it was on.
It was actually on national TV. It was on. So the women's game was on ABC, I believe, and the HBCU game was on CBS. And yes, I flicked back and forth literally the entire time. And fortunately, the women's game ended before the HBCU. But I had to give hats off because it was on a national channel during prime time, and it gave a beautiful perspective of our players and where they come from and who they are. So I just needed to say that. Okay.
Okay, you're fine. No, you're fine. Look, that game actually ended that score. It was the HBCU All-Star Game team Ben Wallace and team Rick Mahorn, excuse me. 108 to 97.
Detroit Piston.
Yes, two hallmark players that will forever have changed the game in the NBA. So that was perfect. Look, I actually appreciated that. I didn't want to end off on that sad note. I'm glad you brought that up. I had it in the card. See, that's what happens. Somebody has to wake the guy up, right? It's like, but as always, guys, look, it's been a blast being your host. Again, my name is Trust Good. I had the lovely ladies, producers on the screen, producers on the left. I was like excited to see what they look like, but it may be just the Wizard of the Oz or
it's
Wizard
a mystery.
of another point of view. But hey, guys, it's been a blast. See you in 2 weeks, and good night from another sports view because women love sports too.
Night.